I guess in the age of Kevin Samuels, Andrew Tate, one of the biggest issues that I have is sometimes what they're saying is spot on, but their delivery is trash. Coming, telling you all the ways that you need to get yourself together. When you have truth, but you are unable to deliver it to the recipient in a way that he or she can receive, truth without grace is just mean. Both are needed. There's a balance of both that is necessary to move the needle forward. I understand a man's desire to have the support of a woman, but I think that there is a much more effective way to get unity of spirit and of mind. When a guy shows up and does his part without barking orders, it is amazing how earnest I am to freely give of everything that I have. Hey y'all, welcome back to Lex Talk. As you can see, I am here with no notepad, so we are going off the dome, y'all. So good luck. But I decided I'm going to take a break from the divorce combo, kind of like I wanted to do last week, because I want to catch y'all up on what has been happening in the dating world for me, because there have been some new events, you know? And so I've been thinking there was this series rather, on HBO. I can't remember the name of it, but I know that Anna Kendrick was like the lead, and at least in the first season. And basically, it was kind of a catalog of all the men she was dating, and each man was a new chapter or a new episode or whatever. And I think that's kind of how my life has been, with each dude being a new chapter, and it's been all very, I would say, mostly pleasant. Even if there was like some sadness or heartbreak woven in there, it was a very clear learning experience for me, which has been pretty exciting because I can literally see myself growing with each encounter that I've had. And now, I guess after that kind of, I want to say kind of awakening that I experienced after that sermon a few weeks ago, I think that now it seems like God is being reckless in the way that he does so beautifully, and kind of bringing guys into my life that are challenging me to get a better understanding of what my faith looks like in relationship and what I'm actually looking for, what it actually looks like for me in romantic relationships. And so sadly, y'all, I think my whole phase is coming to an end. Honestly, I think that end has actually come already abruptly and didn't tell me. But I am still holding on to hope that I have a little bit more time left, because your girl was having a great time. But anyways, I am trying to understand what I need, what I'm looking for in a Christian man. What does my Boaz look like, you know? And it's crazy that you don't be thinking of things until you think of them. Like this entire time, even though I knew I wanted a Christian man, I've not sat to think about what that looks like for me. And I was having a conversation yesterday with a guy that really kind of triggered this for me. And although he very likely ain't the one, it was the first moment that I stopped to think, what is the dynamic that I'm searching for? Because, you know, the spiritual foundation and prowess of a male counterpart for me is a big deal, you know? The way that our faith works, when you come together with somebody, y'all spirits kind of, you kind of become one. Not to say that you're not two individual people, but there's a lot that happens when two people are in that close proximity. You kind of like you are the company you keep. Well, your husband or wife, your spouse, is your company all the time. So it's very important that you know what you're getting yourself into. And even though I was in a quote unquote Christian relationship for, 9 years, this is very much uncharted territory for me. Because, like I mentioned previously, when my ex and I got together, I was very new to the faith as far as being a believer. And so I had no idea what I was looking for in a Christian man, boyfriend, let alone husband. I didn't even know that he was going to graduate that far. So this is still something I've never really put much thought into. Outside now, not to say that I didn't think about it at all. I just didn't think about it from a very mature level, because we were so young when we got together and young when we got married, and where we were in life didn't require very much of us spiritually. It was just kind of, pray, seek God, love Him. That was it. It really wasn't a whole lot to really formulate a good assessment. And for all intents and purposes, everything that I saw checked out. And I would say he thought the same for me. Because the truth of the matter is, we both love God, we're chasing after God. It wasn't like we were, like counterfeit Christians. We were actually doing the things, walking the walk, talking the talk, at least at that moment. And I say that, but I don't want to make you think that at this point we're not. It's just what I've come to understand is not all Christians are created equal. We're all equal as humans, but we have different convictions and things that cause us to walk out our faith differently, kind of like the different denominations. It's not that one is more Christian than the other, although they might think that. But there are different ways that they have maybe interpreted certain scripture, things that they choose to follow, different convictions that make their faith walk look different than the next Christian. And myself, for instance, y'all, I be cussing. I also am very much in these streets, and I am not convicted about it. So just stop it. I'm not. I am more moved by heart posture, by intentions, by morality, values. And so those are the things that that lead me spiritually, and things that I look for in a partner. Like, I want to know that your core is pure. Like, what is the fruit of your heart kind of showing me in how you interact with others and things like that. So I recognize that the things that do convict me, as well as the things that I'm not convicted by, may not align with every Christian man. Hell, it doesn't align with every Christian woman. And even, friendships that I may or may not have may not align with the next Christian. And so, in much the same way, I may come across many Christian men whose values, Christians, and faith walk don't align with mine. And that's okay, but recognizing that, being able to make that distinction is very important in finding a compatible partner. And that's only becoming clear to me now. Like, before, first of all, going through what I went through with my marriage and subsequent divorce definitely has me quite jaded. Not that I lost trust in the faith or in God, but definitely in his whack ass human beings. I've said this, like, I'm less concerned with a man professing to be a Christian and more concerned with how he lives that out. Because again, they don't all have the same convictions. And I want to make sure that when you call yourself a Christian, that it means the same thing that it means to me. outside of just believing in God and, following him with all your heart. And so for quite some time in this dating scene, I have not been really hell bent on finding a Christian man. I did want him to I wanted him to believe in God, but the whole religious, proclivity, I wasn't really hung up on that because it hasn't served me well in the past. As a matter of fact, I'm it did me a disservice because again, I hung my hat on the fact that we were both Christians, thinking that that was all that I needed, and that meant that he was going to protect me in the way that I thought a Christian husband would, protect his wife. And that was a grave mistake because again, our values, I don't think, aligned in that way. And so I was really just looking for the morals of the men that I've been dating, to the extent that I even tried dating someone that did not consider themselves to be a Christian, that was spiritual, in fact. And believe it or not, we had a great time. The reason that it didn't have legs, the reason that it didn't go was simply because I was like, this just isn't right. Because at some point, I'm gonna be going through a hard time. I'm gonna need you guys to pray for me, and you and your trees is not gonna cut it. So I just kind of backed out of it, mostly because I didn't have the spiritual energy to delve into what that meant for me. And honestly, I started to feel convicted about. Like, God was like, girl, bring your ass. And so I just pretty much let that shit go. But it wasn't because morally we couldn't work out, or we didn't have chemistry. We were we had super strong chemistry and extremely compatible. But, my faith comes first. So I had to let that go. But I still wasn't like super sold on Christian men. So it's been kind of a little bit of rebellion in me, I would say. And so only now that God is like shoving these niggas in my face, like, hey, remember, you still Christian. Like, you need to stop playing over there. And so now I'm rethinking, okay, I get it. I know not all Christian men are bad, for sure. I don't even think most Christian men are bad, but I do need to be careful in what I'm looking for from them. And so now it is time for me to go ahead and reevaluate what that means, or evaluate actually for the first time. And so in these talks, what I'm finding, so going back to what my relationship with my ex was as far as Christianity went, because I was so new to the faith when we got together and he had been raised in the church, there was definitely this feeling of inferiority that definitely wasn't of God, but I felt that pretty strongly, to the point where I often felt kind of bullied. I can't say that it was his objective to bully me, but my, I guess, insecurities allowed me to be bullied into kind of just accepting certain things that he said, because I didn't feel like I had this is weird to say, but I didn't feel like I had the spiritual cachet to challenge him. Like I hadn't done the work, I hadn't put in the time to be able to defend my argument. And so that led to this kind of feeling of definitely inferiority, but feeling like small. I guess that's what inferiority means, but but feeling very beat down spiritually, like, or what is the word that I am searching for? Felt very invisible. I don't know. It was just all the bad things is what I felt. And over time, that had kind of erosive implications. It made it very difficult for us to move as a unit spiritually. Like, not this, now we would pray together and all those things, but I think the way that it was handled, anytime God was brought into the situation, I just pretty much backed off and accepted it. You know what I'm saying? So that led to my spiritual perspective kind of being cut off from contributing to the relationship. And I think that was a grave mistake, because I think that God speaks to us differently, and that's the whole point of two coming together. That's the whole point of where two or more are gathered, you know? Shit, is it two or more or three or more? Child. Anyways, and so only on the other side of that relationship have I been able to look back and see that and kind of snap out of it. Also, the growth that I've experienced, it's been, a lot of time since then. And so I'm a whole lot more confident in who I am in Christ. And so that shit just won't go these days. And so the guy that I was talking to, I immediately started feeling some of those similar feelings. And oh my goodness, when I tell you I was not here for it, because this is what it is. I am really tired of men feeling the need to put you in your place in order for them to do their part to the best of their ability. So basically they are coming, telling you all the ways that you need to get yourself together. Meanwhile, they have yet to display their commitment or ability to show up for you in the way that God would instruct them. That is a problem for me. I don't like leaders that push from behind as opposed to lead by example. I understand a man's desire to have the support of a woman, but I think that there is a much more effective way to get unity of spirit and of mind. And I'm not a man, so I recognize that and, take this with a grain of salt. But I do think I have a pretty good grasp on human nature. And this is something that I have preached to multiple people in the past few months. I guess in the age of Kevin Samuels, Andrew Tate. One of the biggest issues that I have is sometimes they have actual truths. Sometimes what they're saying is spot on, but their delivery is trash. But I think that when you have truth, but you are unable to deliver it to the recipient in a way that he or she can receive, you're not getting very far. You've wasted your time. Truth without grace is just mean. That's what it is. Not to say that you can do grace without truth. I think that's a waste of time as well. But both are needed. There's a balance of both that is necessary to move the needle forward. And I feel that a man, listen, and I know this for a fact. I've seen it in the way that I have so easily acquiesced in these situations. I've seen it in work settings. I've seen it in any situation where someone is trying to motivate people to work alongside them or to do something on their behalf. You got to be a little bit more crafty than telling a bitch that they're not doing what they need to do. Shape up, ship out. That's not an effective way to lead. I don't think it ever has been. When a guy shows up and does his part without barking orders at me to get in shape, get in line, or that I'm deficient in this or whatever the case may be, it is amazing how earnest I am to freely give of everything that I have. Like, it inspires you to want to show up for them at least as well as they do for you, if not more. It makes you feel this level of gratitude that can only be repaid in the way that really honors them, that they feel honored by. It really makes you want to love them better than they love you. I think that's the way to do it. And that's the guy that I'm ultimately looking for. I've seen it done. Unfortunately, it wasn't a dude that I wanted, but when it's done like that, I think that's the way that truly, honors me. And I also, in turn, want to honor them. And I feel that that's what a man is called to do, at least, especially in the church, is leading by example. Love your wives as Christ loved the church. And I think that both of us have our respective roles to play. But listen, just don't come at me with all the things that I need to do before you've given me reason to believe that you're ready to commit and able to do what you need to do to protect my interests. Because biblical submission, is a risk. It is a risk to lay aside your will for that of the man that is in your life, and trusting him with your safety, your protection, and trusting that he is submitting to God in order to lead you well, and not allowing his selfish ambition to take over. Now, it's one thing when we're submitting to God all day, no problem. But his whack ass, human beings, we are flawed. Men, women alike, we are all flawed. And so it is very much a risk to trust a man to do that. Now, not to say that we shouldn't, because of that shouldn't preclude us from taking that risk, but just understand that risk shouldn't be necessarily taken on a whim. Like, just because you showed up and you're a man doesn't mean that I should be giving you that space just because. Not to say that you need to work to earn it, but you need to have a space, a title in my life. I need to know that you are in line. And that doesn't just come because you said that you believe in God. And it's not like it's some kind of test that you need to pass, but in the way that you have to test and see or spend time to understand who a person really is, their relationship with God is something that you can't just know because they told you. And you may not know it for a little while. It might take a little time to really understand how their thoughts and actions truly align with the Word of God. And so until I've had a chance to see that, don't expect me to submit to you because I don't know you. Now, that doesn't mean that I disrespect you or I can't show you, because not everything requires all that. Like, I can be respectful. I can allow you. There's ways that I can show you my ability to interact with you in a way that is honoring to you without us being in a full-blown relationship. But that level that you might be expecting might be reserved for somebody that has shown me that they have my best interest at heart. And I honestly don't think it should go the other way around. I don't think that I should need to show you my ability I can show you my characteristics, but I should not have to give you that level of trust without you first giving me that commitment, And I don't mean marriage commitment, but a committed relationship and you deciding to step up to the plate. But anyways, yeah, I've been really thinking about this a lot lately because it's crazy. You don't be thinking about things until you be thinking about things. And because I have never, it was only that one, my marriage that I entered into as a Christian. And so now it's just like, this is like my first time again, And so not recognizing how pivotal of a role it played in my well, I do recognize the pivotal role, but I didn't recognize it going into the marriage. And so now is my second time around. I want to definitely make sure that I do it differently, because there is a lot of PTSD in the way that things unfolded. And I got to own up to the fact that I had a role in that. Although I didn't know what I was looking for or needed at the time, that doesn't change the fact that I chose I chose him. Now, again, even looking back, if I did it all over again with the knowledge that I had at that time, I don't see myself necessarily picking differently. But now is a time for that to change. And so it looks like that is what God is trying to take me through right now, is understanding what it is that a Christian relationship looks like for me going forward, and now understanding how to select a man based on those truths. And so I am absolutely looking for a man of God, but I want a man of God, again, that leads from in front and doesn't push from behind, and that I'm able to see that he truly embodies the qualities of a man of God that are paramount to me and that align with the way that God has set me up as well. I don't think that I just compliment him. I believe that he compliments me. And truth be told, not all men out here are leadership material. And that's not a slight to those men. I think that, listen, all right, let me set this up, because I do have a healthy respect for the traditional hierarchy of Christian marriages and relationships. But I think that as humans, we are evolving faster than we have had a chance to understand. And that's for better or worse. I think that men today are not built in the same way that our fathers and our grandfathers were. I think that women today are not built in the same way that our mothers and our grandmothers were. I think society doesn't exist today in the way that it did in the past. I think there are different, like it costs more, requires more education, a lot more distance, separation between families, a lot more shit to juggle emotionally and mentally. And so I think, as with everything, that we have to adapt. I think that we absolutely take the principles that matter, and I think we apply them to today in the way that works. I don't think that we need to, reinvent the wheel by any means, but I do think that maybe the wheel isn't made of wood anymore. Maybe it's made of steel. And I think that dynamics have shifted, and maybe that will change in the future, but I highly doubt that it's going to go back to what it was, because if there's anything that history and time has shown us, is that we don't evolve backwards. Like, once Pandora's box is opened, don't nobody be closing that shit. Like, we don't unlearn things to move forward. Maybe we should, but that's just not been the trend. And so I think that what I am looking for is a little bit more flexibility. I think that rigidity is never God's goal. Never. I think that he has his principles that are very clear, but in much the same way that the Pharisees perverted that truth, although they knew all the rules, all the laws, they missed the heart. And I'm here for the heart, y'all. I am truly here for the heart. And I think the structure of the world is just different. I think that we need to play to our strengths. Although there are, some traditional, like, gender typical roles that we might easily fall into, I think that's cool for relationships if the couple is cool with it. I think that there might be more of a give and take these days, or should be rather, if that's necessary. So playing to our strengths means there are going to be some things that the man is great at. There are going to be some things that the woman is great at. No need to shift boxes if it works for you guys. Work within that. And I think it's more important to be, I've said this before, well-rounded individuals that have the ability to support each other in a real way. So I want my husband to know that if he loses his job, I got us. Like, while you're getting on your feet now, I ain't trying to take up the load by myself, but I don't want him to feel as though if something happens that his entire family is just going to go under immediately. Like, to me, that is an unreal amount of pressure for one human being to carry. And although I know that men are typically groomed to shoulder that burden and responsibility, again, I don't think men are made the same way. And I think understanding our emotional needs and capacity as we have been evolving as a society, becoming more emotional, I don't think that men are shouldering that burden as well. But it is a lot of fucking pressure. So I do get it. And I would love it if I could help just take a little bit of that burden off, especially because I'm fucking capable. In much the same way, I would love it for my man to be able to step in if, for whatever reason, I'm exhausted and not able to continue for whatever, just for a moment. Step in, hey, can you bathe the kids? Can you take care of dinner? I don't feel that any specific responsibility should be seen as solely one person's task to handle, manage. Now, of course, I think that there are going to be things that we naturally do regularly, but the entire stability of the family, to me, is both of our responsibility. Like, if one partner is falling on, a tough time, I don't think the other person should just be sitting idly by like, well, shit, that's not my aisle. Like the Walmart employees that's not my section. No, I don't think that's the case at all. I think that the benefit of the family is all of our responsibility. And so being capable of doing that and also being appreciated and understood as capable of doing those things is the healthy relationship that I'm seeking. Now, that being said, within that context, I can absolutely fall back into a more submissive role in playing to some of the traditional strengths that align with my skill set. But that dynamic can be changed if the man is not necessarily operating in those, is what I'm saying. So when a man is stepping up and protecting me and making in a way that makes me feel protected and stable, oh, you better believe I'm here for it. If a man is actually able to take care of all the financial needs of our entire family, I don't really know what that means for me in my career. I can't say that I'd be willing to necessarily give it up, but I can't say that I wouldn't. I've not been placed in that position before because, again, society has evolved in such a way that it's not often or practical for a man to support the entire household by himself financially and still offer the same quality of life. Also, it's not necessary when women are kind of achieving more and capable. And so I think that would be up for discussion, but a man just thinking that I automatically forfeit any of my educational, professional endeavors simply because I have a vagina is probably not going to go that far. And that doesn't say anything at all to my my love, my adoration for my family and my willingness to show up for them, especially after having been divorced and having to play both of those roles. Like women are having to do more than previous generations. We're having to go further because we don't always have the support of a male counterpart to alleviate us of those burdens. We need to survive out here. And if a nigga ain't here taking care of shit, whether we're single, divorced, widowed, we got to step up and do what we have to do. And so, again, flexibility to me is key in these, recognizing the need for hierarchy. I definitely understand that somebody does need to fall back in order for the train to move forward. We just can't have too many chiefs in the kitchen. But that doesn't mean that there is not value in every person's part. And I think that's to be appreciated and respected and not dismissed. And so, yeah, I don't know. This has been kind of a rude awakening for me that I haven't really given as much thought to this as I should have, as I've been thinking of what I'm looking for in a partner and, future spouse. But now I think I'm starting to really get the picture, and that's exciting to me because it means that the goal is not to be in these streets, y'all. Like, as much as I've been loving it, I'm not loving it. I don't want to be out here, and so I'm hoping that this next chapter, or I don't know how many chapters, hopefully it's just one, y'all, is closer to my forever, closer to finding my Boaz or whatever that nigga name is. And so, yeah, hopefully this has been insightful in some way. I'm curious to see what you ladies have been thinking about what the street's been saying about Christian relationships and what to look for as you're on this dating scene and looking for your man of God. What does that mean for you, woman of God? What does that mean? What do you look like now? So, anyways, as always, thanks for spending some time with me. Check me out on social media at is_Alexis. That's ISS_Alexis. No E, no I, double S. Or anywhere you listen to podcasts at Lex Talk, LEXTLK. And I can't wait to see you guys in another video. All right, bye.